It's time for Mr.
Fundamental.
Presented by no one.
It feels like Kevon Looney has been manning the middle for the Warriors for quite some time now, but this past year was his first full year as a starter. Their championship run last year actually got Looney a lot more exposure and recognition, especially through those big rebounding games, but his impact goes way beyond that. So let's check it out, and also see how this impacts James Wiseman as well. It goes without saying, but like all Warriors players, Looney benefits from playing besides Curry and Klay and even Draymond. The spacing and playmaking within the Warriors offense makes Looney's role a lot easier. All he needs to do is just wait for the defense to make a mistake covering their stars and emphasize on it. Here's an off-ball screen for Curry. Two defenders run towards Curry, so he dives towards the rim and he's way too deep in the paint for the defense to do anything. The Splash Brothers always force the defense to press up on them. Bullock is up on Klay with the ball, and Finney-Smith stays close to Curry in case of any screen action. This allows Klay to get by Bullock on the drive, and Luka helps as the lowest defender. That attention on Curry earlier is why Finney-Smith is out of position to help the helper, and an easy dump-off pass gets Looney 2 easy points. What gets skimmed over is his feel for offensive spacing. The Klay drive sucks in the help defense and hits the open Wiggins. On the drive, Looney understands they have a numbers advantage, and Horford will be the man to step up on the drive, so he gets behind Horford, forcing him to pick his poison. This constant movement is why Brown wasn't aware he needed to sink down to help the helper, and that's another 2 easy points. When the offense resets, Looney is starting to flare out to the perimeter. Powell sags off him to shadow the Curry drive. That's when Looney cuts to present himself as an option, heading towards the rim. Great effort by the defense to force the initial miss, but Looney cleans up after himself. Looney is positioned way out trying to set a screen, but let's pause it here after the swing pass. At this point, the game is out of reach and both teams have put their foot off the gas. The moment Looney turns his head, he recognizes that Moody has the ball on top, Payton is cutting behind the defense, and the weak side defender is starting to rotate down. It's rare for a full-time center to have this sort of awareness, because he realized the next open option after hitting Payton is himself cutting towards the rim. Payton hits him on a perfectly timed cut and he gets the dunk. Here's a double off-ball screen that causes all sorts of havoc. The defense overloads on Poole, so he hits Porter Jr. on the slip. Again, Looney is way out preparing to set a screen of his own, but recognizes his man will have to cover up the slip. Looney presents himself with a hard dive to the rim and another look right at the basket. Keep your eye on Looney throughout this possession. He sets the pin down for Curry and sucks in 3 defenders to help. On the cut by Tuscano-Anderson, check out how Looney's presenting himself for a dump-off pass. He doesn't get it here, but he'll constantly move around the block or elbows to maintain good spacing. At this point, he understands that his defender is the lowest man and will be the first helper. On this spin move by Poole, he repositions to the elbow to create more distance between him and his defender, and also where the helper needs to be to help on the drive. Again, there's no helping the helper because they're face guarding Curry, and another dump off for the easy bucket. Here's a Curry ISO, and the Mavs sends Kleber to shadow Bullock, and then do a pretty good job zoning up the weak side. Looney tries to cause some chaos with some back screen, but the defense recovers well on the cross-court pass. Looney had a good steal and deep paint position, but he lets his defender help on the drive. This lets him slip behind the defense for the dump-off, and slams it down before the buzzer. This great feel and understanding of spacing allows him to be comfortable roaming along the perimeter, despite being a non-shooter and playing besides another poor shooting big in Draymond. First, look at the offensive positioning. Looney seems like he has no business roaming out on top. Sure, it pulls the big away from the paint, but they'll happily rotate off of him. Some ball movement results in 2 defenders closing out on Klay. The reason you'll see Looney spotting up along the perimeter is because even if Klay doesn't get the open look, a pass to Looney will lead to a quick handoff action with the defenders even more out of position. With Draymond being the screener, Looney camps out in the corner and cuts to present himself as an option. The defense was still in position to cover the dump-off, but Looney shows off his awareness to find the open man out on the perimeter. I won't forget this play when I was watching this game live. You can see the spacing isn't great, and the Curry step back is met by 2 defenders closing out. It seems like everything is covered up until Looney makes a nice cut and the Warriors suddenly have a numbers advantage. A nice bounce pass by Looney leads to the open dunk. Even after the fumble on the dump-off pass, Looney dribbles towards the perimeter for a potential dribble handoff, but recognizes the cut by Klay and whips a one-handed bounce pass on the dime for another easy basket. A Kevon Looney jumper is a rare occurrence, but he had the shooting potential coming out of college. Regardless, he understands that Curry or Klay 3 is more valuable than him jacking up a jump shot. Looney never even looks at the basket here and opts for a ball screen with Curry. He lets Curry's gravity do all the work, so he just needs to make the right read on the short roll. When Draymond misses, Looney is there to clean it up. Looney's non-threat as a shooter actually gives their offense another look because his defender tends to sag off of him, giving the Splash Brothers a sliver of daylight for quick trigger threes. In semi-transition, a quick drag screen was all they needed for Poole to get a wide open look from deep. Even their bread and butter low post split will bait his defender to focus on the ball. This gives Klay's defender even less time to navigate around the screen, and that's too good of a look for Klay. When you factor in all this, it only makes Looney's rebounding ability even more impressive. Despite roaming along the perimeter and not constantly rolling or camping the paint, he's ranked 7th in the league in offensive rebounding percentage among players who averaged at least 20 minutes per game. This just shows the awareness he has in terms of balancing between diving for boards or staying along the perimeter to get his teammates open. On the other side of the floor is where Looneys Value comes in, despite getting overshadowed by the Warriors' small ball lineup. In previous years, the Warriors always started a so-called placeholder at center to save Draymond's body during the regular season. There was Bogut, Pachulia, McGee, and even Cousins. Looney was tasked to do this despite being just 6'9" and around 220 pounds. Now add in the fact that the Warriors are comfortable with him switching onto perimeter players. You have a center that can maintain his effectiveness across different defensive coverages, and that's extremely valuable when you look at Gobert and the Jazz's lack of success in the playoffs. Now what does this mean for James Wiseman? Well, Looney's presence means Wiseman doesn't have to rush his development, but also provides a blueprint for how Wiseman can be effective and earn minutes next to their win-now core. Wiseman was thrown into the fire during his rookie season. He had to learn the Warriors' complex offensive system and wanted to show his full repertoire after playing in just 3 college games. These two rationale contradicted each other, since the former means letting his stars make the game easier for Wiseman, while the latter is having the ball in his hands to create. The biggest evidence for this was the amount of long jumpers he took. He averaged 2 mid-range jumpers per game and knocked down 33% of them. These are shots that the defense are willing to give up, rather than a shot by Curry or Klay. What you can learn from Looney is knowing his limits, at least for now, and take advantage of a sagging defender by running handoffs or screening off the ball. The good news is that he made this adjustment in the preseason. He only took 2 3-pointers and 2 mid-range jumpers through 4 games. To me, these threes are fine because they're similar to the ones Draymond takes from time to time to catch defenses off guard. When he gets in the mid-range area, it's only because Poole didn't want the handoff and the clock winding down that led to him creating with the ball. Attacking off the catch and driving towards the rim is a lot more threatening than a long jumper. Here's the biggest difference though. After the screen, he doesn't roll instantly because Poole's defender recovered, and Poole hits him out on top. Despite having space to pull up, he doesn't even look at the basket and goes into a handoff instantly. While the defense still contains well, this jumper is a lot better considering it's a closer look, and he's also in rhythm. Now Wiseman has still been doing damage as the roller and staying in the dunker spot, but there are some reports that the Warriors will simplify their offense and use him as the focal point in the second unit. Regardless, following Looney's blueprint will ensure Wiseman can stay on the floor and remain effective alongside the win-now core in the near future. Kevon Looney's contribution and his fit with the team just doesn't get enough recognition, but that's also why the Warriors have been able to retain him for such a bargain. While non-shooting centers are easy to add on cheap deals, Looney's value is much higher with his defensive ability and offensive feel. That's why I never entertained those proposed blockbuster trade ideas for star centers in previous years, like for Gobert or Vucevic, because they just don't fit their system. Now they have even less reason to, since they're grooming their own potential star center in Wiseman. Everyone's expecting him to have a breakout year, and rightfully so considering his potential and young age, but the real reason could be him following Looney's footstep on the defensive end and making the game easier for himself. That's it from me, and I'll see you guys next time.